Hey, seventh graders, happy Thursday. Congratulations on finding the video in the new location. Just as a heads up, the reason that your work looks a little bit different, I'm using a Google form and embedding your video and embedding all the links you need, is just so you have access to everything you need in one place instead of searching through the attachments on the assignment. I think it might be a little bit easier to find everything you need in the order that you need it in this format. So as we're trying something new and we're all learning how to best give and take an online class, I just really appreciate your enthusiasm and your flexibility, as well as your hard work to roll with the new format. We are here to do today's math lesson. It is April 9th, Thursday. This lesson video, the questions, and then your independent practice assignment are due by 10 p.m. tonight. As always, make sure you have a space right now where you can focus and you are distraction-free as much as possible, and you have some notes that are ready to go. Okay. Let's go ahead and set up our notes. This will be 4-9 math notes. What we are working on today is expressions from words. So we're looking at things like word problems or phrases, and we are writing and interpreting expressions from those words. So that's our goal today. This is Thursday. Every Thursday, we hit our last topic for the week. And so your independent practice assignment today counts as a quiz grade. And that's because the quiz covers the whole week. So not only from today's lesson, but also Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday's lesson. Okay, so by the end of this video, you will have your last of your 4 lessons. Go ahead and make sure before you start your independent practice today that you have your notes from all week so that you have them on your quiz. You are absolutely allowed and encouraged to use your notes from this week on your quiz today. Okay. Before we begin with a couple of practice questions, I just want to remind you of some words that are really common in both word problems and phrases that indicate different math operations. So I am going to zoom out a little bit. I'm even going to turn off my camera for a minute. And what I want you to do is take a look at these words. The words that are listed here are indicating what operation they represent. So for example, if I see the word fewer in a word problem, the operation it makes me think of is subtraction. If I see the word split up, the operation that I'm thinking of is division. Okay, so what I want you to do now is take a look at all of these words, and I want you to write 3 words for every operation. So on your notes, go ahead and write the word addition, and then pick 3 of these to write down. Okay, write the word subtraction, pick 3 to write down. We're not going to write down all of them. Okay, take a moment to do that. All right, team. If you needed a little bit of extra time, that's okay. Go ahead and pause the video and take a little bit of extra time. It doesn't matter which 3 words you pick, and I also have to give a caveat that sometimes you see these words, and depending on the question that's being asked, you don't actually need to do the operation that's listed. Like I might give you a speed that has miles per hour, but I might actually ask you actually ask you to compare 2 speeds and find the difference between them, right? So I might actually be asking you to do a different operation. So it's not foolproof, but it is a really great start to understanding and looking for these keywords in word problems, and we'll do that today, okay? That's why I didn't want you to write all of them. I will go ahead and post this reference picture in Google Classroom under resources if you ever want to come back and look at it, or if you have a printer at home and you want to print it and hang it at your workspace, that's a good thing for you to do too if you'd like. We won't talk about these, but there are also words that represent equals, which I think are really helpful. And then parentheses, if I see something like the quantity of a number plus 4, then I know I'm actually going to put n plus 4 or a number plus 4 within parentheses. That just allows me to say the quantity n plus 4 doubled, right? Which would mean times 2 outside the parentheses. Cool. So we're not going to get into that today, but I think those are fun to think about. And they are on here if you want to take a second to check them out. Awesome. Let's go ahead and dive into some practice. So underneath your notes, go ahead and label your work number 1. And we're going to do that one together. No, you are going to try this one. Yeah. All right, I just wanted to check my notes. Your job is to translate each phrase into an algebraic expression. We'll see 2 questions like this one. Please translate 4 inches less than Kimmy and pick the expression that you think. As you're doing your work on your paper, try to prove it with your work, okay? Let's take about a minute to do this. While you work, I am gonna play some music for you. If that's super distracting, you can just mute the video for a minute and then come back when you are done or when you see me moving on. I made, when our schools first closed, I made a quarantine playlist with songs all about quarantine themed. So I'm gonna go ahead and play some Police for you. This is Don't Stand So Close to Me. Please enjoy that while you answer this question. All right, let's go ahead and review. If you need an extra second, please pause the video. All right. Here is the work that I showed. If you had trouble figuring out how to prove it, then go ahead and look at what I did. I just rewrote that phrase from the question. I saw that word that meant subtract. And then this label I want to share with you and I want you to add into your work. Kimmy's, I'm assuming height, doesn't really say that it's inches, and Kimmy has it, so I think it's height. Kimmy's height is an unknown amount. I don't know what Kimmy's height is. I do know that whatever we're talking about is 4 inches less than her height. So since this part is unknown, that's what X represents, okay? Or the variable. So I know that 4 inches less than Kimmy is whatever Kimmy's height is, take away 4, okay? 4 inches less than Kimmy means Kimmy take away 4. So Kimmy represents X, right? Because her height is unknown minus 4. That was answer choice A. Okay. If you got it, go ahead and put a star next to number 1. If you didn't get it, I'm guessing that you picked 4 minus X. 4 minus X would actually be Kimmy's height less than 4. So when we've got subtraction, the way we say it in English is often backwards. It's flipped from the way we write it and the way we think about it in math. So just be careful. 4 inches less than Kimmy means Kimmy minus 4. Okay? Let's go ahead and do question 2. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to give you an important instruction. I'm really glad I have my notes here. You'll see below this video in the Google Forms, you'll see a couple of questions. And what I want you to do is actually type in the answer for question 1, where it says number 1 in the Google form. We won't type in every answer, but we will type in ones that are really important. So I want to make sure that you've got it. Go ahead and type in your answer for question 1 now. If you need to pause the video, please do that. Awesome. We are now going to move on to question 2. You're going to do this one on your own. I'm going to give you about 45 seconds or so to do that. Go ahead. All right. For question 2, 8 times a number. My unknown amount is this a number. You'll hear that phrase a lot in algebra. 8 times a number. Remember that when I have a number and a variable next to each other, it means multiplication. So when I want 8 times n, sometimes I need to look at the answer choice that just looks like this, B. Okay. If you got number 2, go ahead and put a star next to number 2. If you got both right, can you give yourself a nice self 5? Way to go. Let's look at question 3. Go ahead and label your paper, question 3. We're going to do question 3 together. All right, question 3. Robert and his younger sister are selling gift wrap to raise funds, that means money, for the middle school band. Robert's sales are 2.5 times his sister's sales. I think I'm going to have to write that down. Their total sales together, total, that's a key word I was looking for, can be represented by the equation x plus 2.5x equals 63. Awesome. Let's go ahead and write down a few key details from the question. Really what I want to focus on when I'm picking what to write is what do the different parts of this story represent? Translating the story into algebra, so into symbols and numbers. Okay, so there are a couple of things that I want to write down. Please make your paper look like mine. For question 3, I want to just remember that Robert's sales equal 2.5 times sister's sales. I used a multiplication sign. You could write the word times, either is okay. So probably given that they gave us the equation, you can see that they're using the variable x, and I saw x and I saw 2.5x. So what this phrase makes me think about is that Robert's sales, again, make your paper look like mine, equals 2.5x. So 2.5 times whatever sister got, okay? Sister's sales are that unknown amount. Okay. And we call that x, or whatever variable. In this problem, it's x. All right, so Robert's sales are 2.5 times what his sister sold. So he sold a lot more, 2.5 times more. The sister's sales we don't know, it's X. And so that means Robert's sales must be represented by this expression, or this term, 2.5x. Okay. I also want to copy down the equation from the problem. Let's just double check that we've got it. Yeah, go ahead and write down this equation on your paper. All right. And the reason that I want to do that, here's my equation, is because in order to answer this question, I really need to understand what each of these parts in algebra represents in the story, right? So what does X represent? X represents the sister's sales. So how much money did she make from selling the, whatever it was, magazine, I think. What does 2.5x represent? Well, we did that pre-thinking already. 2.5x represents Robert's sales because he sold 2.5 times more than his sister. So this is Robert's sales. And what's 63? That number wasn't in the question. We got some new information in this equation, so you're gonna have to make an inference. What does 63 represent, do you think? Did you remember that word total? 63 represents the total sales. I know that because of addition here, and I was kind of cued for that word, or for this in the question with that word total. All right, so should we try to figure out what each of these people sold? If I have an equation, I can solve it to find the value of X. So if I solve this equation, I can find the value of X. I can find what sister's sales are. Then I can find what Robert's sales are. I'm just going to check the question and make sure I need to do that. So let's look back at these answer choices. Yeah, I need to know if Robert's sister's sales total 18. I need to know if Robert's sales are represented with this equation, what Robert's sales are. Yeah, I'm going to have to solve and figure out what X is. That's what sister's sales were. Okay, so let's do that. I'm just going to rewrite the equation over here on the right and go ahead and solve it. X plus 2.5x equals 63. I like to draw a line to keep my work on the left and on the right separated. You can do that if it helps you. My work is looking a little squished together, so I'm going to give myself some nice space here. All right. In order to start solving, usually when I have two terms, I have a constant term and a variable term, and I start by subtracting a constant term. But these are both variable terms. These are like terms that I can combine, so I'm going to do that before I start using inverse operations to solve. Okay, X is the same as 1x, so I'm going to go ahead and write that on my next line of work. There's no subtraction, so I'm not going to change anything to add the opposite. I'm just going to combine now these two like terms. 1x and 2.5x together is 3.5x, and that equals 63. Okay. This says 3.5 times x, and I need to use inverse operations to solve, so I'm going to go ahead and divide by 3.5. That will give me just x, which is what I want. That's going to tell me how much sister's sales were. If I do that on the left, I also have to do it on the right to keep my equation balanced. So I'm going to go ahead and divide by 3.5. 63 divided by 3.5, we got this. I'm going to go ahead and work right here. 63 divided by 3.5. Remember when there's a decimal in this number right here, the divisor, I always mix those up. The divisor, I've got to move it. I've got to like multiply it by 10 basically. And I need to do that then with the dividend too. So I'm going to take the decimal place and move it one more over. And now I'm at 630. So if I do 630 divided by 35, then I can get my answer. How many times does 35 go into 6? 0. I'm going to move to the next place value. How many times does 35 go into 63? 1. 1 times 35 is 35. And I'm going to go ahead and subtract. I have to borrow. All right, I'm going to bring down that 0. How many times does 35 go into 280? All right, let's make some educated guesses here. I know that 35 and 35 is 70. Actually, I know how many times 70 goes into 280 because I know how many times 7 goes into 28, right? 4 times. So I think 8 is going to be my answer. I could also think because 4 and then 2 35s in every 70, right? So 8. I could also think if 2 35s equals 70, it's a little less than 100. So I'm going to need, I can start counting up that way and just make an educated guess, try to get close. Let's do 35 times 8. I think we'll nail it. Perfect. All right. 35 times 8 is 280. I have none left over. So what does this tell me? I found out that 63 divided by 3.5 is 18. So over here, I'm going to update my work. X equals 18. What have I figured out? In this story, X represents what sister's sales were. So now I know that sister's sales were 18. Okay. Let's go ahead and fill in a little more of what we know in this equation. I know that sister's sales, X, is 18. I don't know what Robert's sales are yet, but I do know that the total is still 63. Could you figure out what Robert's sales are? Go ahead and do that now. All right, you should have got 45. If you got it, can you put a star next to this equation? Awesome. You could get it in 2 ways. You could either take 2.5 times what we know X is, 18. 2.5 times 18, you'll get 45 if you did that correctly. You could also use what you know about addition and subtraction. 18 plus blank equals 63. You could do 63, take away 18, and get 45. Awesome, I'm ready to look at answer choices because I know that sister's sales were $18, Robert's sales were $45, and their total was 63. So I'm ready to start thinking about some answer choices here. All right, A, Robert's sister's sales total, $18. Do you agree with that? Yes, I'm gonna go ahead and check that A is true. We've got all the work on our paper to prove it. B, Robert's sales are represented by X when solving 3.5x equals 63. We did solve 3.5x equals 63. Were Robert's sales represented by X? No, our X, or whatever represents X, doesn't change throughout this question. X was always sister's sales. So B is not true. X represents sister's sales, not Robert's. C, Robert's sales totaled $25.20. That's crazy, no. That's not relevant. That's the poke code I would use. I didn't see that number anywhere in my work. Robert's sales actually total 45. We figured that out. D, Robert's sister's sales are represented by X. That sounds right. Robert's sister's sales are represented by X when solving 3.5x equals 63. Totally. E, Robert's sales are represented by X when solving 2.6x equals 63. Not relevant. We didn't solve that equation. You would get this equation if you added incorrectly. If you added the X and the 2.5x incorrectly, you would get this. But Robert's sales were never represented by X, so hopefully you wouldn't pick that one anyway if you made that mistake. All right, question 3, A and D, we're ready to go. All right, go ahead and set up your paper for question 4. Question 4 is about percents. We've done a lot of work with percents this year, and I'm really excited to review it now. Rick buys remote control cars to resell. Resell, that means he buys it and then he sells it again. You can only make money doing that if you buy it for a lower price and sell it for a higher price. So whatever you bought it for, you have to, it's called mark up the price if you want to sell it. People do that a lot when they buy in bulk and then resell not in bulk, or they buy something and they fix it up and then they can sell it for more money, right? Okay, Rick buys remote control cars to resell. He applies a markup. Beautiful. I love that vocabulary. Remember, that means increase the price by 10%. He applies a markup of 10%. Write an expression to represent the retail price of the cars. Retail price is the price he sells it for. So he bought it for some original price. He's going to mark it up 10%. And we want to know what's the retail price. What is he selling it for? Use C to represent the original price of the remote control cars. Love this question. All right, let me think. Question 4. Yeah, let's do it together. Question 4, I want to know a couple of things, and I want you to write these on your paper with me. C equals original price. And I'm also going to write 10% markup. We know that means increase. Okay. I want to write an expression to represent the retail price. So I'm just going to make myself a note. What is retail price? I'm channeling Jacqueline over here. Hi, Jackie. All right, I want to draw a tape diagram. Go ahead and draw a tape diagram that represents the original price. Okay, I have this nice graph paper, so I'm going to make it 10 boxes because I'm going to add 10% in, and I know I can do that if I have 10 boxes, but you probably don't have graph paper, and that's totally fine. Just make it as long as feels good to you. Okay. Do we know how much the original price is? No, all we know is that it is C. I do know that, I forget this guy's name, this guy is going to increase the price by 10%. So I'm going to show that on my tape diagram by adding like a little box that's about 10% of this, okay? So we're going to mark up the price by 10%. The original price, what percent was that? We practiced that a lot in class. I hope you got it. I wish I could hear you. The original price almost always represents 100% in questions like these. So I've got the original and I'm going to mark it up 10% of that price. Okay, I'm also going to label this little box markup. And I want to do one more label. I gave the original price like a term, C. So I want to use that to help me figure out what the markup is. So I want to find 10% of C. Okay, I'm just going to write that down really quick. That felt like it was going to help me. 10% of C. Do you remember how to do this? If I want to write an expression, of means what operation? I didn't check if that was on our picture. Should we look? Yes, it is. Do you see it? Loop right here, and it's in all caps because it's so important. Like if I say, I drank half of the water bottle, and the water bottle is whatever, 40 ounces, then I can take 1/2 times 40. I drank 20 ounces of. Love it. Okay, so that means multiply. C, I don't know what it is, but C is fine. I want to keep it. And 10%, if I want to do any kind of operations with that percent, I need to write it as a decimal. To do that, I just move that decimal 2 places to the left. 0.10 times C. That's the markup, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and circle it and just draw an arrow. The markup is 0 and 10 hundredths times C. Or maybe write it more like a mathematician, like this. All right, last annotation. The whole thing here is the retail price. Remember, the retail price is the original price that he paid plus his markup. That's how much he's gonna sell it for. So if I want to write an expression that represents the entire retail price, I'm going to add the original plus the markup. It looks like this: C plus 0 and 10 hundredths C. That is an expression that represents the retail price. I'm adding here because remember, my price is increasing. Could you write this a different way? Maybe you remembered that C is also 1C, and 1C plus 10 hundredths C is 1 and 10 hundredths C. Both are great. Okay, either one would get you full points. You'll see a question like this on your independent practice on your quiz today. So make sure your notes look really nice so that you can go back to them. On this question, I also want you to record either one of these answers, not both, but either one of these answers on the Google Forms. So go ahead and scroll down to where you see number 4 and type in the expression that represents the retail price. All right, if you need a little bit of extra time to do that, please click pause and then finish typing and then come back. We have one last question to do. Okay. Again, also really good practice for your quiz. Oh, almost forgot to put my answer. How will I grade myself if I don't put my answer? Just kidding. All right, question 5 is going to ask us about perimeter. Here we go. What is the perimeter of this polygon? Do you remember what perimeter is? I'm going to call Ms. Hayes if you don't remember what perimeter is and have her talk to you. I'm sure she'd love to talk to you. The perimeter of this polygon is the distance around. So perimeter of a quadrilateral like this one would be all 4 sides added together. You are in 7th grade, so I don't ask you to find the perimeter very often, but I do when it involves algebra. Isn't that fun? So here are expressions that represent the 4 sides of the polygon. You are going to find the perimeter, and then you are going to pick the answer that you think is correct, okay? I'm going to go ahead and try to get all of the question on the screen. Perfect. Oh, almost perfect. Okay. And I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do that, probably through the end of this song. Go ahead and enjoy. All right. We will not listen to Down with the Sickness. Maybe another time. All right, go ahead. I just finished simplifying the expression that I made, or the expression I made to represent perimeter. And I'm just going to compare and choose an answer choice now. So I'm going to give you about 30 more seconds. All right, I'm ready. If you need a little bit of extra time, please click pause. Here we go. Perimeter is distance around. Hopefully you made Miss Hayes so happy. I'm sure you did. Here's my work. First things first, I just took those 4 expressions each side and I added them all together. Okay, I just underlined them here to show the 4 different sides so I could go back and triple check. Okay. The next thing I did, I used keep, change, change. I added the opposite. So you'll see where this subtraction was, it became plus a negative. And where this subtraction was, it became plus a negative. That's all I did. Everything else the same. You'll notice some annotations that I use when I have like a monster problem like this. I put a different kind of underline, or if you have colors, you can use different colors to show the like terms. And I'm going to go ahead and put all the like terms together. So you can see terms that had a variable d, I underlined all with this kind of bracket. And then in the next step, I moved them all together. You can see the terms with an F, I gave kind of this squiggly line, and I put them together. And then the constant terms, I gave this kind of bubbly line, and I put them together. Okay. All right, and then I combined the like terms all in one step. So I took a shortcut. Maybe you did that. 5d plus negative d, which is negative 1d, plus 2d is 6d. Okay, combine these like terms, combine these like terms. Okay, then I had to compare to my answer choices. My answer choice did not look the correct answer choice, C, did not look exactly like the expression that I got. I just put things in a little different order. Okay, C looked like this. If I keep, change, change, and I then use commutative property, I can see that actually these are equivalent. Okay, C is the right answer. If you got it, put 2 stars. Nice job. There's so many little steps in here. It's really easy to make a small mistake. So don't get discouraged if you made one, but go ahead and make sure you fix it now and you understand why it is this way. Okay, so feel free to click pause now while it's up on the screen to edit your work. All right. Here's what I need you to do next. There's one more question in the Google form that says, answer the question Mrs. Calabrese asked you during the video. Here is that question. What I want you to do in that is just summarize what's a key first step when you simplify an expression. In this expression, the first thing I did is I checked, was there subtraction? Yes, so I used keep, change, change. I added the opposite. Change that subtraction to plus a negative, plus the opposite. Change the subtraction to plus the opposite. Can you go ahead and summarize that really important first step? Anytime you're simplifying an expression, that's a great first step because it helps you make sure that you keep track of all the negatives in the expression, okay? All righty, click pause so you can go do that now and then come back. I have a couple of final instructions for you. All right, so you should have now the entire Google form filled out on this page, except there's one prompt at the very bottom that is about uploading your notes. I would love to start seeing your notes. It's gonna help me figure out what is working or what's hard, and it will help me make our lessons and our notes even better. So I would love to start seeing your notes. If you have a webcam on your computer, or if you have a phone that will take pictures and that you can save your pictures to Google Drive, I want you to snap a picture of your notes. You can hold it up to the webcam like this. I know you don't have a document camera. Right, hold it up to the webcam, take a picture. It usually saves somewhere easy to find on your computer. If you do that and then you upload the pictures of your notes, I'll be able to see them, and I would love for you to do that. If you're not able to do that, if you're having technology issues, or you don't know where it's saving, or you don't know how to do it, or you don't have a webcam, all of those things, then just skip that question. It's okay. If you skip it, I'll know you're having trouble and we can get some help to you in the next couple of weeks, okay? But if you're able to do it, if you can figure it out, go ahead and try it, okay? When you click on the Google Form next page, that's where you're going to find your links for your independent practice. Okay, so you'll see a skill builder. Remember, you get 3 correct in a row, and you'll see your Illuminate assignment. Remember, it is a quiz this time, and it covers all week. Okay, so make sure that you've got that those notes ready to go for your quiz. If you'd like some help, remember to hop by office hours at 3:15 with Miss Russell. All of this is due at 10 p.m. Okay, awesome. Great work, guys. Thank you again for being really flexible with the different styles of work. I'm really excited to see you again here tomorrow. Bye.